My name is Adam Andrzejewski, and I'm the CEO and founder of OpenTheBooks.com. And we have a simple mission at OpenTheBooks.com. It's every dime online in real time. And I'm very excited about this week's segment of the Ripoff of the Week. And welcome. This week, we're actually tackling a subject that's been in the news very frequently during the pandemic year of 2020, and that is the congressional funding and relief and aid of the Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts in Washington, D.C. So let's get right to it this week. I want to introduce my co-host, Tamara Colbert.
Adam, thank you. This is going to be, I think, a topic that is going to resonate with our viewers tonight. So you're from Illinois. You've talked often about kind of legalized money laundering schemes, which means they're legal but not necessarily ethical. So what about the Kennedy Center? What is it?
Well, first of all, because we're based in Illinois, and Illinois is the Super Bowl of corruption, we have license to talk about things like the Kennedy Center. So first off, you asked what is the Kennedy Center?
Yes.
Many people think that the Kennedy Center is actually an agency, a unit of the federal government, because they get so much money from Congress, but it's not true. They're an independent organization. They're actually a nonprofit organization. Tamara, if you can believe it, they're a public charity. They're a charitable organization, but they're dialed in to a large degree to the taxpayers' checkbooks.
It's unbelievable. So why did they get a $25 million bailout as part of the CARES Act relief coverage from Congress last year?
So this made national news, and everyone watching the program today, you'll remember when the pandemic first hit, Congress came through with the big $2 trillion plus bailout bill. Mm-hmm. And the Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts was dialed in the first version of that at $35 million. The Republicans in the Senate were able to negotiate that down to $25 million of your money. It's your money, and you are bailing out the Kennedy Center. And this was the argument they advanced. If Congress doesn't give us the money, we're going to run out of funds. Now, we looked at the 2020 fiscal year, how they ended up with $5.5 million worth of net assets. They actually grew their net assets by $3.3 million during the pandemic year of 2020. They weren't going to run out of money. They've got $500 million on their balance sheet.
$500 million, did you say?
$500 million. So we went back and we looked at the last 5 years of Kennedy Center financials. And Tamara, this is what we found. We found that Congress put over $250 million of taxpayer money into the Kennedy Center. It's $270 million. During this 5-year period, they increased their net assets, their balance sheet, by $114 million, all the way up to $505 million, $500 million they now hold free and clear. No liabilities against that on their balance sheet. And furthermore, we found that over the course of this 5-year period, the top dog at the Kennedy Center, their president, she cleaned off over $5.1 million worth of cash compensation at this independent public charity.
That's incredible. So here's a nonprofit. President has taken home over $5 million in the last 5 years. Can you walk our viewers through maybe the past 5 years of asset growth and how much taxpayer money, how much directly went into the bank account? What does that look like, Adam?
So the net asset growth over the course of the past 5 years is stunning. While they've taken $270 million appropriated by Congress of our money, much of that went to their bottom line. $114 million they put in the bank. They put in their asset bank on their balance sheet, free and clear, no debts, no liabilities against it. And like we said, now they have $500 million of assets. And during this period, the year ahead of the pandemic, they increased their assets by $70 million in a single year. While they were crying poor and said that they were, quote unquote, going to run out of money if they didn't get the $25 million on the coronavirus bailout for their payroll. Even last year, during that ongoing pandemic, they added to their net assets. They furloughed all their employees right after they got the funding. They added a few back, but they eliminated 1 out of every 3 positions. They eliminated 150 full-time positions at the Kennedy Center. So they took our money, they furloughed and eliminated positions, and they added to their bottom line more money now at the end of 2020 than they had before the pandemic started, only made possible by the generosity of the American people.
It's unbelievable. So we've got people asking, how does this happen? You found out, Adam, through your investigation, our Open the Books auditors discovered there are some pretty powerful members of Congress sitting on the Kennedy Center's board, right?
So it's Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Kevin McCarthy, and Mitch McConnell, and 9 other U.S. senators and House members sit on the board of trustees of the Kennedy Center. And
how does that work? How do they get that?
It's mandated by law. They're required under the law that Congress passed to sit on the board of the Kennedy Center. And furthermore, they also pull, this is a very smart organization, they also pull in the first ladies. So every first lady from Rosalind Carter through Melania Trump has been an honorary chairman of the Kennedy Center.
Unbelievable. So there's a little inside story from 1958 on how the Kennedy Center was started. You want to share that with our viewers? I think they're going to find it fascinating.
At openthebooks.com, we always go a layer deeper. We always give you the inside story, and it never gets any prettier. This story doesn't get any prettier either. In 1958, when Congress authorized funding of the Kennedy Center to get them started, they actually took the plot of land in Washington, D.C. using eminent domain, condemning one of the most popular restaurants and their property in the city. They took their land by eminent domain and built the Kennedy Center on that plot of land and gave them the equivalent of $100 million to kick off the construction. And the law specifically says, and I linked to it in my Forbes piece, just Google Forbes, Kennedy Center, it comes right up. And you can actually read the underlying law. The underlying law says it was Congress's intention that the Kennedy Center be independent and self-funded. But guess what? It never happened. They get an annual appropriation going all the way back of $40 million a year. But last year, on the pandemic year, they got nearly $80 million of your money.
Wow. I mean, Adam, when you think about that, they're getting $40 million. What we could do with that to support other businesses, and more importantly, what we could do to pay off our own debt is really extraordinary. This is a really incredible report. I think it's one of our best. I say that all the time because Open the Books is doing the work that the Congress refuses to do related to oversight. What else should we do? Do we need to call our congressmen or senators over this? What can we do?
So first off, much of this pork for the Kennedy Center was because these bills, these omnibus bailout bills, they're too big to read. They're dropped at the last second. They contain up to 5,600 pages. Nobody has the time to read them. They're supposed to vote on them 2 hours later. And stuffed in there is always pork for places like the Kennedy Center. So we simply need a 72-hour timeout to read the bill. It's probably a 99% issue. It's an issue that AOC agrees with all of us on. And so just head over to openthebooks.com and sign our petition. There's a petition tab across the top of our website. Click it, sign the petition to simply request Congress read the bill. It's critical. Let's raise our voice, sign the petition. Let's put 1 million signatures on that petition, share that petition to your social media, and let's put the read the bill movement in play and get Congress to do their jobs.
Adam, that's where we got to leave it this week. Guys, join us next Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern, for another riveting ripoff of the week. Go to openthebooks.com and sign the petition tonight. Thanks so much.